What's up?
Fishing boat at red 50. We've got a buoy dead ahead. A ferry at red 90. And rest of goose dead astern. That's about it.
Okay, I've got it.
Officer of the watch, port lookout.
Officer of the watch.
Port lookout relieved by Able Seaman Marno. Kisby ring, Paynes Wessex smoke markers correct. Masthead steaming light, port running light burning brightly. All objects sighted reported. Request permission to carry on, sir.
Yes, please carry on.
This is the officer of the watch on a Canadian destroyer. He depends on the members of his watch to run the machinery, operate the sensors, and pass him information. One of the most important sensor operators he has is the lookout. Despite the efficiency of modern radar, sonar, and other sensors, the lookout remains essential to all ships at sea. Warships, in particular, need well-trained lookouts, both in peacetime and in war. The eye can tell us many things that radar alone cannot. And there are objects that will be visible before they are picked up on radar, if they are ever picked up at all. This picture is what the visual lookout can report, while the radar operator can only report a contact. This is another contact detected by radar, which the visual lookout can identify. Some things never show up on radar, which really want to be seen, or are trying to remain hidden. The lookout also uses his ears. This prolonged blast means that there is another ship approaching from around a blind corner. By the time this ship is radar visible, it is already too late to react. Every member of a ship's company can be called on to act as a lookout. So it is important for you to learn the duties of a lookout before you ever set foot in your first ship. The first thing to learn about being a lookout is the idea of relative bearings. Using this system, everything is described by where it is compared to the way the ship is pointed. This ship is dead ahead, while this ship is dead astern. A more precise method is used to make lookout reports. Objects are described relative to the ship's head in degrees. Bearings to starboard, called green, and bearings to port, called red. An object that is 45 degrees off the starboard bow is described as being at green 45. An object that is on the port quarter is described as being at red 135. In this way, all objects can be described by which side they are on and how many degrees they are off the bow. Objects dead astern can be reported as being at red or green 180. Normally, there are two lookouts, one on each bridge wing. Each lookout is responsible for his side of the ship and a 5-degree overlap both forward and aft. The starboard lookout is responsible for reporting everything from red 5 to red 175. And the port lookout is responsible for everything from green 5 to green 175. Because of the overlap, each sector is 190 degrees around. If there were 4 lookouts, each would have a sector of 100 degrees. In addition to the bearing of the object, you should give the officer of the watch an idea of how far away the object is. You don't need to be able to judge distances. Simply describe things that are above the horizon as far and things below the horizon as near. This freighter is silhouetted against the sky, so it is far, while this buoy is below the horizon, so it is near. The last element of a lookout report applies only to aircraft. When reporting aircraft, you have to describe how high they are by angle of sight. With 0 at the horizon and 90 at the zenith, which is right overhead, it is a simple matter to estimate the angle of sight. For instance, an object halfway between the horizon and the zenith would have an angle of sight of 4 or 5. Here's a little trick that will help you with low-flying aircraft. Reach out with your hand in a fist. The width of your fist is about 8 degrees. The width of your open hand is about 15 degrees. Because aircraft usually travel so fast that the bearing and angle of sight are changing, you also need to say whether it is drawing left or right, opening or closing. So these are the things that you need to be able to tell the officer of the watch. Relative bearing. Type of object, or if you can't tell, just say object. The proximity. For aircraft, the angle of sight and which way it is going. And add any amplifying details that are necessary. These things, in this order, make up a proper lookout report. Bearing, description, proximity, for aircraft angle of sight, and details. When fog limits the visibility, a lookout may be posted to the bows of the ship, also referred to as the eyes of the ship. The fog lookout communicates with the bridge by a sound-powered telephone. When visibility is poor, all searching should be done with the naked eye, and binoculars are only used to identify an object already sighted. It is especially important to listen carefully for fog signals. If you do hear something, make a simple report, like bearing red 30 foghorn far. Sound direction can be difficult to determine in fog, so you may only be able to report that the sound is ahead or astern, to port or starboard. Because of the conditions, a fog lookout should be relieved after no longer than 30 minutes. Another person who acts as a lookout as a secondary duty is the lifebuoy sentry, who should report anything unusual or that the bridge lookouts might have missed. Use the sound-powered phone. Remember that the lifebuoy sentry's primary duty is life-saving, so keep your ears free to listen for someone calling for help. Now that you know the basics of reporting procedures, let's see how it gets put into practice.
Captain, watchman to muster.
That's no good.
When your watch is called, you muster in a convenient location so that the petty officer of the watch can detail you off to your various positions. You must always arrive dressed for whatever weather you might encounter during the next 4 hours. In tropical conditions, in case called on to fight a fire, the watch on deck is to wear boots, trousers, and long-sleeve shirts with the sleeves rolled up and carry jackets. In Arctic conditions, thermal boots, overalls, and weather jackets. And in moderate conditions, boots, trousers, and weather jackets, and rain gear if required. Don't overestimate your tolerance to cold. You can always open your jacket or take off a sweater, but 30 minutes standing on a cold steel deck with the rain dripping down your neck can really ruin your concentration. Now that you are properly dressed, it's time to go to your position. On your way there, check the life-saving gear. Get a turnover, including all the objects that have been reported, and any special instructions. Take the binoculars and put both straps around your neck. That's in case one breaks. And adjust your binoculars. Listen for the report to the officer of the watch that the person you relieved gives, and start your watch's lookout. In order to adjust your binoculars for the first time, screw both eyepieces all the way out. While looking at a distant object, cover one lens with your hand and screw the other eyepiece in until the object comes just into focus. Then repeat the process for the other eye. Now, open the hinge part of the binoculars most of the way out. You should see 2 overlapping circles of vision. Close the hinge enough to bring the 2 circles together. Now, check the settings on your binoculars. For someone with average eyesight, the eyepieces should be set near 0. Remember your settings and use them every time you take over as lookout during the day. And take care of the binoculars. Only clean them with the lens cleaning tissues to avoid scratching them, and always stow them properly in their cases when not in use. visual sweep you should do is without your binoculars. The wider angle of view will allow you to notice objects much easier. Avoid the temptation to scan too quickly. A 100-degree sweep should take at least 90 seconds. Pause if you think you see something, and if you see an object, report it, even if you're not sure what it is. During your sweep without binoculars, be sure to check the sky right up to the zenith, directly overhead. The second sweep is done with the binoculars. Keep the horizon about a third of the way up the circle. The third sweep is also done with the binoculars, with the horizon near the top of the circle. When you have completed this sequence, do another sweep without binoculars and start over again. When you spot something, report it to the officer of the watch.
Officer Watch, sir, starboard lookout.
Officer to watch.
Bearing green 170, fishing boat near, sir.
Very good.
Notice that all digits are spoken separately. Do not report something at green 60. It is at green 60. Also, do not put zeros in front of the number. An object 5 degrees at the starboard bow is at green 5, not green 05 or 005.
Officer Watch, sir, starboard lookout.
Officer to watch.
Bearing green 120, military aircraft. Angle of sight 20. Moving right to left.
Very good. Good eyes, ordinary sea Morn.
Thank you, sir.
Keep a sharp eye out for ships, aircraft, navigation aids, such as buoys and lighthouses, distress signals, smoke or flares, and any item of interest. Warships, periscopes, and military aircraft are of special interest, not only to the officer of the watch, but to the captain too. When operating near friendly helicopters, you should recognize these visual signals that the helicopter uses to communicate when it cannot use its radio. If the helicopter comes close by the bridge of the ship and has lowered its wheels, the pilot is signaling to the ship, and the officer of the watch should be notified immediately. While there is a friendly helicopter in the area, you are responsible to report it only once, then go back to looking out for other objects. When there is a threat of air attack, NESOPs and bosuns will normally be sent to close up at the air lookout sites, or ALOs. The ALOs are located on the gun directing platform, GDP, or flag deck. Newer ships will probably have a video camera system. If your trade requires it, you will learn other techniques to use with more advanced equipment. At night, some adjustments need to be made to lookout procedures. To begin with, the ocular settings on your binoculars should be 1.5 settings lower. An important thing to remember is that your night vision uses only the most sensitive part of your eyes. If exposed to direct light, your eyes will take from 30 to 50 minutes to adjust. Your eyes are not as sensitive to red light, so all the spaces where white light is not needed are lit with red night lights after sunset. Guard your night vision carefully. Once lost, it takes a long time to acquire, and you will be virtually blind in the meantime. Because of the added strain on your eyes at night, be sure to rest your eyes when you are relieved. Another peculiarity of night vision is that looking directly at something makes it harder to see. Because the most sensitive parts of the eye are not in the center, looking at objects slightly off-center makes them easier to see at night. Because of this, you will have to sweep your binoculars in steps, taking time to look around the blind spot before moving on. The same sweep procedures are used as during the day, but it takes longer. Be sure to report any colored lights to the officer of the watch, as they provide valuable information about the job the ship is doing. One last thing. It is the most seldom performed task of the lookout, but by far the most important. What to do during a man overboard.
Help! Help! Help!
As soon as you hear the lifebuoy alarm, even if you don't see the man, launch the Payne's Wessex. To do this, take the Kisby ring out of its rack. Make sure that the lanyard is not fouled and throw it forcefully into the water. If the Payne's Wessex does not drop off, put one hand on top of it, keep your face well clear of the side, and push it sharply off its bracket so the metal cap breaks off. The whole arrangement will land in the water, emitting orange smoke with a white light that is visible at night. Once the Kisby ring and Payne's Wessex are in the water, find the man overboard and point to him. Keep pointing to him until he is brought into the boat, on board the helo, or onto the ship. You are telling the officer of the watch where the man is, and if you lose sight of him behind a wave, you will still know what area to be looking in when he reappears. Let's go over the important points of this lesson again. Be prepared for your watch. Wear the right clothing. Check the life-saving equipment on the way to your station. Adjust your binoculars and start looking for things to report. Use the proper sweep system. Make your reports in the standard format. Tell your relief what you have reported, and make your turnover report to the officer of the watch. At night, put the ocular settings on your binoculars 1.5 lower and use the special scanning techniques. Guard your night vision jealously. And finally, remember the all-important jobs you have to do in the event of a man overboard. The duties of a lookout can be demanding and can be tiring, but the entire ship depends on your alertness and professionalism. Remember the lessons you have learned here today and use them wisely.